All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Houston Rockets Daily. I should also say, welcome to Let's Talk Rockets. Now, Let's Talk Rockets is something we have done 9 total times. This is the 10th episode, the 10th edition of Let's Talk Rockets on this channel. It's basically just kind of every couple of days, we're talking Rockets. Here's the new kicker. It's now on streaming sites. All right, Let's Talk Rockets is now a legitimate podcast. We are still going to be doing not daily, but a couple of times a week at least. I don't have a set schedule. We're still doing Let's Talk Rockets initially on YouTube, and then it will be transferred over to podcast form. We have a Twitter. I have a Twitter. It is down below in the bio. It's literally just Let's Talk Rockets. And yeah, if you want to see the live video option, come on to YouTube and I will try and schedule it as soon as possible. We'll also try and get a legitimate plan going for when it's going to happen. And if you want to hear audio version, if you like driving to the gym or you're driving to work or whatever it is, and you want it on podcast form, we're now going to be on podcast form. No Rockets creator has this, where they have a little bit of both. You have the video, because I want this to be interactive. As we see here, Thomas Perry, my OG, Thomas Perry's in the chat. Scott Martin in the chat. I want to still have a live chat, but I also want it to be available to you guys on streaming sites. So follow that Twitter. It's literally Let's Talk Rockets. It's down below on the bio. Let's just get into today. We're going to keep it super interactive. Nothing has changed except for the fact that we're on Twitter, which you see on the screen right here. We have 5 followers. That's crazy, Gio. My man, shout out to Gio, Oscar, Jaden, Chris, and my other main Twitter. I was sending myself a bunch of tweets here, so we're going to go through it. But basically, we'll get it started with Jabari Smith Jr. No Rockets creator has this, Shade Texan. As far as I'm concerned, every Rockets podcast, if they do it, they do like a premiere, and it's nothing against anybody. The only Rockets podcast I've ever listened to is Locked On Rockets with Jackson Gatlin. I absolutely love it. But since I've transferred over to, instead of just talking Rockets, we'll talk about this more at the end of the show. I don't listen to Rockets content, really. I just watch the games rather, and then listen to NBA content since I've transformed, I guess, my channel into NBA and my daily live NBA show. But yes, last night, let's see if we can get a zoom in on here. I'm still not quite sure if I'm going to upload the video onto Spotify. I don't think too many people watch it that way, but this is a little too into it. The Rockets got honestly, a good loss, a great loss last night, actually, if we're going to be real here, talking about the Indiana Pacers versus Houston Rocket game on the road. Real quick, funny caveat or just fun stat is the Houston Rockets road record is like pretty much what the Golden State Warriors, last year's NBA champions, road record is right now. So that's just kind of funny. Houston's in a battle for the lottery right now. I don't think you could draw it up any better. You're missing your starting point guard and Kevin Porter Jr., which we desperately need, because we'll talk about Daishen Nix in today's episode. But, oh man, Daishen Nix. What are we going to do with you, Daishen? He's probably going to respond to the tweet anyways. An overtime loss is exactly the type of games I'm trying to have. And when we take a look, zoom out, Detroit has 15 wins, the Rockets have 15 wins, and the San Antonio Spurs have 16. Now, the good news is we're pretty much locked into number 3 at worst, which is good. It's good, because having the worst record in the league, it's not football, and it doesn't mean you're getting the number 1 pick. But what I want to see is just like last season, where you have guys. Last year it was Jalen Green. Hopefully it's still Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. show. Those guys as a duo lit it up last year. They absolutely lit it up. Jabari Smith Jr. has turned a corner, and you're not always going to see it as far as actual like statistical percentages. Last night we did. He had 30 points, which was a career high, 10 of 19 from the field, 3 of 5 from downtown, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. He had 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He also had a block in there in a career high 47 minutes. I took a lot from this game, all right, because not having Kevin Porter Jr. is pretty important in this saying. There's nobody like setting him up, but Daishen Nix is like, I don't want to rag on Daishen Nix because he's a 21-year-old guy who just turned 21. He's very young, very raw player. There's nobody like necessarily easily setting up Jabari. Right? We saw Jabari at the 5 quite a bit last night, which a lot of people have been advocating for since he got into the league. And I'm glad we're starting to see it more. We see like Jayshawn Tate, Jabari Smith, and Jalen Green out there a lot. And it works perfectly. I like the switchability, the versatility that provides. The funny stat line is that like the 30 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block is the first teenager since LeBron James to do that, which is just like, it's just kind of such a funny random stat. Like 30, 12, 3, 2, and 1 is such a random, nice bundle of statistics. I'll tune into a podcast. Appreciate you, Scott. This is the first episode on the podcast, so it's not currently, it's going to be Let's Talk Rockets. Follow the Twitter, you're subscribed to the page, so you'll see all the links there. But I'm really excited, man. I have my podcast, I have my golf podcast, and I have my daily live NBA show. And I don't know, I love podcasting. In the podcasting business, or like the sports talking business, quotations, which I'm not really in, but I guess I am. Solo shows are like a big no-go. Like nobody really does them successfully. Obviously, there's a bunch of outliers that can, but I plan on bringing on quite a bit of guests, and hopefully we can get guys like Jorge, Balin, Shade, Scott, Thomas on here to talk segments, almost kind of like a radio show. What's up, Jorge? My absolute man. I'm actually gonna talk a little bit about Jorge at the end of this show. Silas plus Daishen Nix equals Wembanyama. What's up, Balin? How are you doing? But real quick to finish off the Jabari segment, he did a great job. And it was funny because the last shot in regulation clearly was not drawn for Jabari Smith Jr. The first and second option were no-goes, and the clock was running down to inbound the ball, and he passes it to, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Daishen. Whoever was passing the ball handed it off to Mr. Jabari Smith Jr. And he takes those shots that you take in pickup basketball where he grabs it, he takes one step with his left, he takes one step with his right, so he's on the three-point line, turns around, you're down 3, and it went in. He loves it. Poor Pacer fan. I don't know if anybody caught it on the broadcast, was not looking. She looked down at the worst possible moment. But anyways, Jabari Smith Jr., this is exactly the type of game we want to see from him. Daishen Nix. So we got Jorge and Balin going at Daishen Nix. If you guys don't remember, I don't think the word big on Daishen was the compilation of words I would use. I was hopeful. I was optimistic. I would say I was overly optimistic about Daishen Nix because I really like his passing ability, or maybe his passing potential, and the ability to knock down 3-pointers, which he hasn't done this year, and the ability to play defense, which we haven't seen either. He plays not great basketball, man. He really doesn't. I wonder if I sent my tweet here. This kind of goes hand in hand. We have a tweet here from Ali Khan Bajani, Rockets_Insider. This is the time in the season where you think to yourself, you look at the game, you're like, all right, Daishen, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, fouled out. He had 3 turnovers, 3-12 from the field, 2 from downtown. Honestly, that clearly isn't a good stat line for a starter or anybody in general. The negative impact Daishen Nix had on last night's game can't even be statistically put in. It's just he's that bad. And it's even with small passes. I saw a pass late in the game to Jabari Smith Jr. where Daishen drives in and he pushed out a pass to a Jabari corner-ish 3. And it was all the way to Jabari's left, and he had to grab it and then put it back center and take the shot. It's just even what I was hopeful on Daishen Nix can't do properly. And this is the time in the season where we have a ton of money to spend. It's our last year where we have our draft pick, right? We don't have our draft pick. It's not our last year, but we don't have our draft pick next year. This is when you try to see what you have, because we have a lot of money that we're going to be able to spend. Now, you want to evaluate your current talent because you want to bring in free agents. You want to make trades that improve your team. but you have to weed out everybody else. Daishen Nix is a prime example of players that you're going to have to weed out, whether you want to or not. And it seems like pretty much all of Rocket Nation wants to weed him out. But I'm talking guys like, every single player is under evaluation right now. Like it just, you don't want. I'm done, Daishen Nix. I'm just done. What is Josh Christopher, right? We don't know because we saw him play 73 games last season, but we haven't seen him play this year. What is Ty Washington Jr.? Can Ty Washington Jr. legitimately be our backup point guard next year? Who the fuck knows? Who knows? Because you keep throwing him into the G League, or when he's on your roster, just like Josh Christopher, you're not playing him. So here's the logical reason for why Ty Washington Jr. was sent to the G League and then recalled earlier this afternoon is because of playing time. But if Kevin played last night, if we had John Wall, I understand it. If Ty's not going to play because John Wall's the starter, Kevin Porter Jr. is your sixth man, I get it. Throw Ty into the G League so you can at least continue to scout him. He can continue to develop, progress. You see what you have at least. But then you bring Ty, there's so much confusion within this Rockets team, and it's all thanks to Steven Silas. I don't want to go at Silas because my take, about a month ago or whenever Nate got fired, whenever the trade-ish deadline was, All-Star break-ish, was when Nate McMillan got fired, and I was thinking, all right, that's going to set things off the tracks here in a good way. Like, Steven Silas will probably be fired sometime in the regular season. It's just not going to happen. There's absolutely no way. I would love to fire Steven Silas and have John Lucas take command of this team for the last couple of games, 15-ish games. The bad news is, honestly, we'd look a lot better. The offense would run a lot more smoother. I think every facet would run better. The rotations, the lineups, it would all be improved. So the downside to that is it would equate to wins. And with Detroit on a 10-game losing streak, with San Antonio, we just got two critical, unfortunate, but fun at the time wins against San Antonio. It's like you have to give Ty run right now. If Kevin Porter Jr. is battling a left thigh injury like he was last night, if he's battling injuries and Daishen Nix sucks, there's no excuse to not have your rookie point guard Ty Washington Jr. play. The same thing applies to Josh Christopher. Thankfully, we've seen Josh play a little bit more to what we saw last year. Keep in mind when Josh first got into the league, we were seeing him 7, 8, 9 minutes a night. It was always in garbage time when he played, but he did play 73 games. Maybe the beginning of the second quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter was when we initially saw Josh Christopher play. I'll just even back it up right now. Let's go to last season for Josh, and let's see what the minutes pre and post All-Star break were. 16 and a half minutes pre-All-Star break in 50 games, and then post-All-Star break, we saw him play 24 games, 21 minutes a night. You just want to continue to look, you want to evaluate your guys, man. I don't want to go into next offseason and be like, what do we have? Who fits with who doesn't fit with who fits our future, who doesn't? And it brings us into our second point, but we'll check the chat real quick. Shade Texan Nix's ass. Jorge, my man, I love how you pay attention to detail. You always speak in facts. Jorge, anytime you want to come onto this podcast, please just let me know, or I'll do the same, vice versa. I would love to get in. Jorge is one of the only Rocket fans that I know, or one of the only people who's watched my content ever in the 2.5 years I've done this that I've actually met. And like I said, we'll talk about Jorge and just Houston in general at the end of this show for a quick heart-to-heart. But Jorge, seriously, just an unbelievable guy. I love Jorge so much, and I can't wait for my next visit to Houston because I would imagine we're going to kick it and we're going to do crazy things, fun things. All right. We have a tweet here from Rockets Watch, which I think is a podcast. Neither here nor there. Jabari, big night, career high 30 and 12. Is this something the team can build on? That's not what we're talking about. Alperen Sengun doesn't play the final 20 minutes and 34 seconds of the game. When I watched this game originally live, because like I said, I have my daily live NBA show, so usually I'm bouncing around games whenever they're in breaks or what have you. And nights where there's 10 games playing, so 20 total teams is a huge pain in the fucking ass. But I didn't catch on to Sengun's lack of playing time at first last night specifically. Then I'm watching the all possessions on League Pass. It's like one of the only good things about League Pass because you could just stream games if you don't live in the area, or you don't have it on cable, or you don't have cable, whatever it is. Like I live here in South Florida now, so I don't have Rocket games on cable. That was like the first thing I noticed. Alperen Sengun just not being in, and your thoughts like, did I miss something? Did he get hurt? I don't really get it. What is going on here? Robert Williams to the Houston Texans. Wow, interesting move for him. I like it. I like Robert Woods. Good move. It just goes hand in hand to what I'm talking about right now with Ty Washington Jr. and Dacian Nix and guys like Usman Garuba. I will throw in there, no doubt. Josh Christopher. It's like, how are you not playing the guy you traded 2 first-round picks for, one of the best centers in that draft class, one of the best players on your team in the entire year? It's not like he was doing a horrible job against, like when you play a guy like Miles Turner, there's a couple of ways to go at it, and I really liked the way Houston tried to attack the paint throughout the entirety of the game, whether it was Jalen Green, even Alperen Sengun himself, KJ Martin Jr., guys were Jabari Smith in the second half. They're getting downhill and they're trying to contest, Miles. And I know Miles had, 4 blocks in the first half. I get it. You're playing a 7-footer. He finished with 7 blocks, and you're thinking, all right, maybe Sengun isn't the best big man. Well, the only thing that they changed was they just went small. And by small, I mean you have guys like Jabari playing the 5, and it sucks because Jabari playing more 5 means Sengun getting phased out a little bit as far as minutes go. That's the whole issue, even with a Victor Wembanyama draft. And it's already kind of, it's not like the writing's on the wall, but like we're like a couple letters into the wall right now where it's like, what does Steven Silas really think about Alperen Sengun? I don't view him as that huge of a liability because the big thing that Silas was getting pissed off about was a couple of games ago or weeks ago at this point against Damian Lillard, where he dropped 71 points. And it was like, well, actually, Steven, the way Portland runs their offense is heavily ISO Dame, but extremely heavy pick and roll Damian Lillard and any player out there. It's just tough because you bring in a guy like Usman to come in off of the bench. In that specific game, they brought in Boban, and it's just like, that's not an improvement. It's not like you're improving taking Sengun off of the court, taking him off of the game. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I really can't understand the whole, oh, we're not keeping Sengun in there because of defensive liabilities. Let him work it out. We're not trying to win. I get it from a coach's perspective. You are trying to win. From the player's perspective, you're trying to win. But it's not like Sengun's impacting these games where he's losing us. Like, it's not like Sengun's the sole reason we're losing games because of his defense. That's just not how it is. It's, we lead the league in turnovers. We're not a good big man team. There were so many countless times in last night's game against Indiana where there was just nobody in the paint. Somebody would block, like there was a specific one, Aaron Nesmith shot fake. Jabari's coming in to close out where he was playing the 5, and he gets caught lacking a little bit and he drives into the paint. There's just like not even a soul. Like everyone's at the 3-point line. There's just literally nobody there. I really don't understand it. We got chat here from Balin. Love to see you, man. You're going down. I think we play each other next week in fantasy basketball playoffs. Neither here nor there. How would you feel about the idea of trading away one of Jabari or Sengun if we were to land Vic? And then I see your second chat here. Me personally, if we land Vic, I'm trading Sengun. Jabari's untouchable. To just keep it a buck, Jabari's untouchable. I don't care what his stats are. The fact Jabari is shooting as bad as he is and still averaging 12.7 rebounds on the season, it takes time. We know Jabari's shortcomings. Like, he can't really dribble that well. We knew that coming into the draft. He's got to work on ball handling. He's got to take that to the next level. We knew that coming into it, and you can start to see him getting into that. I think Mikal will get into that for a second, but like, Jabari to me is untouchable. He's so versatile. You could realistically play him 3 to 5 and be totally okay with it. But rookies are untouchable, like pretty much on every single team to me. Like even the worst rookie of the draft that I can think of off the top of my head from this last year was Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis to me, if I'm Washington, is still untouchable. Like a lot of these guys are projects. Jabari is still a teenager. He's still 19 years old. He'll be 19 until May. And keep in mind, like you're going up against like at least 25-year-olds who have been in the league for several seasons. It just takes time to acclimate to NBA speed. It takes time to acclimate your body. Look at like Anthony Edwards, who's another good example. Even Jalen Green this year is a good example of like starting to use his body to his advantage. Think Denny Avdija, a young prospect from Washington who's been in the league for a couple of seasons this year. Even though like the stats aren't jumping off the page, you're still hopeful for guys like Denny because they're starting to use their body. They're starting to get downhill. I saw a couple of times last night where Jabari, whether it was a pick and roll or it was just him, Miles Turner one-on-one, where he's taking him to the rim, he's taking him to the basket, and he's trying to figure it out. Untouchable to me. Sengun, I was just kind of mentioning this. Phasing, I don't think he's getting phased out because like 26 minutes last night, 34 against Brooklyn, 27-28 against Sacramento, 31 against Memphis. Let's check his second half. He went, minutes pre-All-Star break, 28 down to 27 and a half. It's not a huge deal. He does deal with foul trouble quite a bit. It's been a huge improvement from last season. I don't think they would just like get rid of Sengun at all. I understand totally about what you're saying. It's just the thing is like Sengun this year versus last year, it's been such an improvement. We saw Sengun play 72 games last year. He only started in 13 of those. We didn't even see Sengun start this season. We saw Bruno Fernando, and then he got injured. Sengun on the year, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He's averaging basically a steal and a block per game. He's shooting 56% from the field, shooting 32% from downtown. Every single stat, 3.5 rebound, 3.2 rebound, offensive rebound, per game. Every stat's been like bumped up for Sengun. So what I would do with Sengun is I would take a wait and see approach if they get Vic. I don't even really like to think about if we get Vic because those are good problems to have. Like, does a Vic and Sengun front court work? On paper, probably not. We've seen Victor Wembanyama. I've heard from him saying that he wants to play the 4, or our team's going to play him at the 4. Is he a suitable 5? Whatever it is Sengun more of a 4, or should Vic be the 5? These are really, really good problems to have. They're really good problems to have. I'm not worried about Sengun. I'm not even really worried about Sengun's future. But sometimes him getting phased out in the second half of these games is very interesting because if you had like a young rim protector or even just a veteran rim protector that was coming in wake of him would make a little bit more sense. I guess they do when he comes out, they do bring in Jabari to play the 5, which could also be just more of let's see it from the other side. Let's see Jabari play the 5. We got 15 games left. Let's see him play. Jabari Vic front court with a Jalen Hart, that confused me for a second. A Jalen Green, James Harden backcourt. Maybe you trade Sengun. You can get McCall from the Nets. My thing with Sengun is that his play style won't mix with Nick's with Vic. Jeez, dude. You want the ball in Vic's hands because he's a superstar, but you also want it in Sengun's hand because he's that good of a passer. Hopefully they could complement each other. Jorge, sadly, Salas knows he's the scapegoat on this organization and his time's coming to an end. He's hired to tank, and then when we acquire our talent via draft, we go get a real coach and we ditch him. I exactly think that's what's going to happen. It's clear at this point that he's not a player developmental coach. That's not what he's brought in for. So why have we been expecting him to do this for the last 3 seasons? It is what it is. There's always a scapegoat, and rebuilding teams just in general aren't good. One thing I gather every single night watching this Rockets team is there's so much raw talent. That's the key word, is raw. There's a lot of talent on this team, but it's extremely raw talent. Maybe just try Jabari at 3, and if it doesn't work, Sengun goes. That's a good wait-and-see approach. Scott Martin, I see your point, Balin, but trading young stars in the past hasn't gotten enough in return. I look at the Shea trade. Yeah, very, very good point. Thomas, I'm glad you caught this. Locked On, dude, I've done that like twice today. This is Let's Talk Rockets number 10. Thomas, after this, probably 30 minutes from the end of this stream, Let's Talk Rockets is an official name on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, the whole shebang. So this is now an official podcast. It's kind of like a mix. Thomas is one of our huge, he probably is the biggest supporter of my daily live NBA show with Ciro. So I appreciate you so much. I love Sengun, but he's probably my second favorite Rockets player. It's just a what if scenario. Yeah. Good problems to have, man. They're good problems. If we get Vic, we'll go from there. All right. My Blackhawks are trending right now. I'm curious. All right. We talked Jabari, we talked Sengun, we talked Tai. We even talked a little bit of this. We'll get into really it's Rockets Insider for our listeners. Really like the minutes where Jabari was at the 5. A lot of small pick and roll with Jalen and Tate, with Jabari in the corner where he shoots the best from. Defensively, they switched a ton, and it wasn't awful. I like it. All right, we'll take this off the screen here. I will subscribe to that. Big ups. Appreciate you, Thomas. Yeah. I did want to do a quick segment on KJ Martin Jr. Let me pull up his actual statistics. This guy is, I've talked about him time and time again. He's had 23 points last night. A little bit of an off night, not even from shooting. Against Brooklyn, he went 4-7 from the field. Jeez, can't talk right now. My voice is suffering, and I can't even think of where the nearest water is. It's probably in the kitchen. 8 points, though. 13 points a game before that, 14 the game before that, 19 the game before that. He's shooting 63% from the field, 30% from downtown, which is a little unlike KJ. But in his third season, we're finally, with the departure of Eric Gordon, we're finally seeing KJ Martin Jr. get more minutes. We're finally starting to see him start basketball games. He started half of the year for us, and heading into pretty much 130-ish games in his first 2 seasons. He only started 10 of them. I know our OG Rocket fans remember KJ starting the last 7 or 8 games for us in the James Harden trade year back in 2020, 2021, where he went like 17-7, which was awesome to see. KJ's definitely a guy where I'm holding on to. I'm sticking with him. Post All-Star break, he's done a phenomenal job. He's scoring 16 points, 6 rebounds, 59% from the field, shooting 18.8% from downtown, which is, like I said, just so unlike him, because in this year he's only shooting 31.5% from 3-pointers, but in his rookie year, 36.5%. Second season, 35.7%. So it's just, I'm excited to see what we have with KJ Martin Jr., and I think they're starting to see what they do, what his potential could be. I really like Jayshawn Tate off of the bench and KJ Martin Jr. as the starting. Ben Simmons is an idiot, Dalen. It's something I've gathered making Rockets content. I'm not trying to go at it because, like, from Bill Simmons' standpoint, it actually is a little bit different. Like, myself, I have all of my YouTube channels, a lot of them focused on basketball. I have my daily live NBA show. It's so hard to watch basketball every single night. Like, every single night, to watch every player, to watch every team. That's what I've really been able to gather this year, doing a full season of the NBA show and being a Rockets fan, a Rockets supporter, is when you hear somebody say, "Oh, Jalen Green is a bust," like, it's just like, oh, yeah, you're not watching the Rockets play. Like, it's just as simple as that, and there's nothing against it. Bill Simmons is a little bit different, though, because he actually gets paid to talk basketball, and he has a show or a podcast or whatever he does, and he says all these outlandish things. And it's just kind of even a thing with media in general, is the fact that they, it's today's day and age, even in general, it's more of like you have to get the clicks in order to get the views, to get paid, whatever. And I think a lot of people kind of sell, I don't want to get as deep as like sell their soul for it, but like a lot of these guys get a little bit outlandish because they think that's what sells, as opposed to like building, something legit, building something real. So anything Bill Simmons says to me, and it's not just because the Jalen Green comments, it's been several of them, I just think he's kind of an idiot, and it's a little bit rude, but he's probably got a family. He's probably got kids. I don't know how I've said this on my show a lot. I don't know how people with kids and a wife and whatever. I don't know how they watch this much basketball, because even for myself, who is like an independent creator, it's so hard, dude. It is literally so hard to just know it all. Nobody knows it all. So basketball is one of those games where it's a little bit different than like the NFL or college football, where it happens once a week for, 5-ish months. It's like every other night, but in general, every team, it's every night. So back when I used to make daily Rockets content on Will Upton, it was so much easier to like have a clear grasp of what's going on within that organization. Then once you branch out to the 30 teams, it's like, oh shit, dude. Like, I put in a lot of work, so I could probably talk about most teams, but I just have a strong feeling not too many people are watching the Houston Rockets play. And even like with my buddies, like it's like, is Jalen Green that good? I'm not sold on him. It's like, he's that good, dude. Like, he's still just a raw talent. Like, if you watch, it's not even just highlights. Like, especially if you watch the highlights, though, you look at Jalen Green and somehow some of the way he scores, it's like, geez, dude. Like, he's athletic. He's talented. Yeah, he said it's a borderline draft catastrophe that Rockets took Jalen over Mobley. And the rebuttal to that is like, well, what about Jalen Suggs, man? What about Franz Wagner? Like, there's so many ifs, ands, or whats that you could do with all these things. Chris, Rockets news. It's a good thing we have from the start of the season, where it's like his dad's asking for a trade, or he's asking for a trade. It's like, what's going on? And all that. And that's definitely a good point. Scott Martin, maybe Bill Simmons is just trying to entertain, and it's a big proponent of it. That's just the way she goes, I guess. Like KJ, he always plays the right way, always looking to pass first or set a screen. He just plays good team basketball. It's just like Tari Eason, where I don't have to draw up a play for KJ Martin Jr. He's either going to be open, or he's going to make the proper cut. He's going to make the proper pass. His intensity speaks for itself. They're just good basketball players. You're going down. No, you're going down. So that's it for today. Let's Talk Rockets. We'll continue to view the chats as they come in, but I'm really excited for this podcast. And like I said, we do Let's Talk Rockets. I keep saying we. When I say we, I mean myself and the people watching. What's up, Gio? Appreciate you. It's been really cool. My first ever NBA video, because my boy Swaggy, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know, he told me, he had a lot of success making Rockets videos because he was a huge James Harden fan, and now he lives in Houston. But he told me to start hopping on this, and it was a tough time point in life. And my first ever NBA video was actually, I think it was a Lakers video, which is funny, but hopped right into Rockets content. Once the season was over, we made a Houston Rockets account, which is this channel right here, Houston Rockets Daily. And I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate all the love, and I want to continue to take it to the next level. And the future is extremely bright in Houston. I don't care what the naysayers have to say. I don't care what people have to say. The future is so bright. There's so much talent on this team. Like, there just really is. And the people of Houston are awesome. The Houston fan base, even if you're not from Houston, is seriously so awesome. I've only been to Houston 3 times. My last time was because of Mr. Jorge, who invited me out to a game, essentially courtside. It was the Rockets home opener. It was a great time. Got to see my boy Austin. It was seriously so cool. And I can't believe I never thought of making a podcast before, like, tonight. It actually like just spawned tonight. It's been in the dome for like a little bit, but it's not even about like competing with other Rockets podcasters. I'm sure they're all great. Like I said, the only ones I really know are Jackson Gatlin, and I haven't talked to him specifically. I was going to get him on the show one day, and then he had some medical emergency, which I think he's all good from. But I love my boy Jackson Gatlin. He follows my main on Twitter. So I'll pull up this Twitter once again real quick here. My boy Gio hit us with the follow. Is it on the screen? It's not on the screen. Yeah, the Swaggy, me, and Austin streams were awesome. I was watching those, and I appreciate you, Chris, a lot, man. I appreciate that so much, dude. Chris is one of the more talented. Well, actually, let's just go to his page here. Let's Talk Rockets. It's as simple as that on Twitter. And like I said, probably like 30 minutes from now, we'll be on. I follow Gio. will probably be on Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. So if you miss a live show or if you're going to work or whatever, I'm going to try and do this at least 3 times a week. We'll kind of see how it goes. But yeah, this is the Twitter. That's really it. And obviously, I'll still keep doing this on Houston Rockets Daily, and I'll still make YouTube videos for Houston Rockets Daily, and I'll still do various streams. But I do want to get it a little bit more legit, where it's like let's create something. And I really like the aspect of having this show on YouTube with the community, where we're doing the initial show live, where I'm having all you guys chatting with me, and then it's also available on streaming platforms. This is my boy Chris here, Rockets News. Got a great Instagram, great Twitter. He's very dedicated to the Houston Rockets, and he also is just like a workhorse, man. I believe he's still in college, and he's a great grinder. We also have my boy Gio here. Got to show him love. Hopefully he's still – I see videos he's making. Yeah, keep at it, man. These thumbnails are actually like incredible. These are so much better than anything I've ever made, ever in my entire life. So keep at it, man. I know these views might seem a little demoralizing. I hope you're doing good. I'll have to get going on the Twitch streams again. And that's really it. So appreciate you guys. Check out the streams. I'll post it on the community. I'll post it on the Twitter. And probably the next Let's Talk Rockets. See when the next game is. I would imagine it's tomorrow because they don't play tonight. So let's just double check it. Bulls Rocket. I didn't know the Bulls played the Rockets tomorrow night. It'll probably be on Sunday. So I'll see you guys on Sunday. I appreciate you, Chris, Gio, Balin, Chris, Jorge, Thomas, Scott. You guys were all awesome in today's live. So that's it. And I'll see you guys hopefully on Sunday at least, most.